May hapon mo panagkait sa Diyos sa tanan o sa tanan ng kabuhatan. First of all, I would like to thank Sister Cecil for giving me this opportunity to share with you about the Bible, particularly on the Pentateuch. But actually, I won't give the first 5 books, but only a part of it, focusing particularly on the call of Abraham and Moses. Okay, ikakuha din ang moment kung ako na magduntanan. I'm also happy to be back in my alma mater now for more than 20 years, more than 20 years already. I miss to participate in some important activities of St. Columban College. By the way, I am, for those who do not know me, I am Nestor, Father Nestor Bangalat from my hometown in Tocoran, Subuanga del Sur. And I also happen to be part of the formation team in our major seminary. It's in Mary's Theology, in which some of your instructors here are really a product of the seminary. I hope they are doing well. I am not really an expert in actually the scripture because I was not able to finish. I lacked the completion of my thesis due to maybe time constraints and financial reason, and maybe due to the scarcity of our priest in the diocese and the urgent need to be really start my role as part of the formation team in St. Mary's Theology. But anyway, I just like to humbly share with you some of my thoughts and reflection regarding this particular topic about the call of Abraham and Moses as the major figures in the Old Testament in relation to our celebration this month as the month of vocation, as well as the celebration of the 50th year of the diocese, as well as the celebration of synod and synodality, in which as one church we journey together regardless of our faith affiliations or our culture, our status, but so long as we are really considering that we are God's one family and people. Now let me start with you this input with a short story. Saan ba daw ang short story? This is about a man who one night comes home very drunk. Maybe you have heard already this story, but for the sake of situating ourselves with regard to this very important topic on vocation and its implication, I will share this story. And then he orders his wife that he was very hungry. So the wife simply replied, "It's all there on the table. It's up to you to choose." But seeing that on the table there was nothing to really choose, the man complains, "With only one piece of dried fish, what choice do I have?" Well, the wife says softly, "You can choose either to eat or not to eat." Okay. Well, we have the choice as human beings whether we want to be happy or not. Life is really a matter of choice. The more if we are Christians, we are also confronted with many choices. And one of that is, how are we going to respond to God's calling? So either we refuse or we really pursue. That is where the difficulty lies. Now, before going to the central topic on the calling of Abraham and Moses, let us first try to review our knowledge about what vocation is all about. We all know that vocation is coming from the Latin word vocare, which means to call. And in our Christian understanding, our common vocation is the calling from God. That is really to believe in Jesus Christ on our part as Christian. Now, as a calling of God to a life of ministry, there are many states or forms. As baptized Christians, we are called to follow Jesus Christ. And some offer their lives to the church as priests. We all know that there are many kinds of vocation. As a priest, who by the calling of God guide us into the life of faith. Others are called to be parents. That's the vocation to married life. And while some commits themselves to the church as religious brothers and sisters, or in a broader and consecrated persons to symbolize radical discipleship. And indeed, each of the faithful has a vocation because we are called in many different and varied ways. So, as I said, now based on the teachings of the Catholic Church, first we have priesthood, second, married life, third, religious life or consecrated life, and the last but not the least, the single blessedness. In relation to this month's designation, we are also reminded that we celebrate this month in order to promote the exploration of one's calling or vocation in life. Typically observed by religious institutions, educational organizations, and communities. Maybe that's also one of the reasons why we are here, no? To be reminded of our own vocation and to encourage individuals to reflect on their purpose, values, and meaningful paths. That is why to share also with you about the important keywords when we speak about vocation, I will share with you some thoughts coming from our very own Cardinal Tagle. According to him, as God calls us as we are, there are three keywords that can guide us in making choices in life. Three keywords. Although you can have other keywords, but generally there are three very important keywords. One is honesty. Honesty to self. When we speak about honesty to self, that requires a bit of knowledge of self. So, in responding to the call of God in making choices in life, basically we need to have self-knowledge. No? The honesty to self, to know ourselves. And knowing yourself, God calls us as we are. Wala man tatawag ka sa Ginoo aron mahimong bantugan. Wa ta gitawag sa Ginoo gumikan kay kita dako na o posisyon sa katilingban. Gumikan kay na natay kahibalo. Basically, God calls us as who we really are. Going back to the very basic of our humanity, to our being God's creature. Kaya pagbuhat sa Ginoo na to, wala kang nagkibuhat sa Ginoo, ikaw, abogado, kinay mong himuon, doktor, kinay mong himuon, magtutudlo. Basically, the identity is simply as created being by God. and God as the Creator. So, mo na yung pinaka-basic. Both pasabot, God knows who we are. And God knows whom He is calling. Now the question is, do we know who we are? Iba ang batagin sa ta. Ano may problema? Yeah, what about that? That's the point also as part of the deep reflection, of Thomas Merton, that it is hard for us to know God once we do not know ourselves. So meaning to say, you can only know God very well, deeply, if we know ourselves well. Kaya lagi, we are created according to the image and likeness of God. Asa ganyan na makita? Genesis 1:26-27. 26. So, meaning to say, we share in the very being of God. So, in knowing ourselves very well, we also know God. In the seminary, what is very important is really the ongoing discovery of oneself. That takes a lion's share in the formation. Unless you know yourself very well, you cannot proceed to higher formation. Or you will spend another years that is best for you to discover yourself. Not necessarily inside the seminary, but outside of the seminary. So not only in seminary life, no? Kamadong tanawon, bisan diya sa mga minyo, bisan diya sa imong profession. Importante ang long yun nga pag-ilang sa kaugalingon. That's also the reason why there are many broken marriages. And professions which are not really responsibly assumed. So this is very important in making any choice in life. Getting in touch with your real self. Knowing your giftedness, talents, knowing your gifts of limitations as well as weaknesses, because that's also a gift. So mainom bitaw ta ang atong mga kakulangon dili mani murag ipadaplen na nato selective kita. Basta negatibo para nato dili na sa Ginoo. Kini lagi maayo, mo lagi sa Ginoo. But no. Everything is a grace. Grace upon grace. It's just a matter of how we looked at the reality, how we looked at the situation. If we don't have the eyes of faith, then we can see the reality. Okay. So, who are you? Remember that the choice of life which God is calling you to the direction of life is meant for you as you are and not as somebody else. Para get sa aktuang kaugalingan, dili para sa uban. Dili ka mayon mo pareha pa niya. Kinahanglan para pagkuhog si Juan yun. Idol na ko si Juan, mo gyud ko. So na lang. Be yourself. Know yourself. Kung mamatay ka, matod pa sa mga spiritual guru. Hindi ka matay ka sa tao, hindi ka bunyad ko sa langit na tubang sa Ginoo. Dili magkapangutan-on o kinsay imuhang nasuon na maayo. Kung dili, nahimo ba kang ikaw sa imong pagkaikaw? Second keyword is purpose in life. Knowing yourself and also do you also know the purpose of your life? So it may sound so overused word or question, but it is one thing that we sometimes ignore and misunderstood. Kung anong kainin ka ng OA ni para sa mga millennials, no? Purpose in life. Pero it's good, no, to know our purpose and end in life. Though through social media and multimedia, we are bombarded with so many different messages that tend to confuse purpose in life and the paths to the purpose in life. So, kabalo na tayo unsay advantages and disadvantages, no, in using social media. In our catechesis, on the official teaching of the church, particularly the catechism catechism of the Catholic Church, we are told that the purpose of our being created is, can you basic ang ganyan, no? To know, to love, and to serve. Mga nagitutlo sa itong mga katekista sa eskwelahan, sa catechetical ministry o classes. Now, it's good to know the purpose. Life was given for that purpose. We will discover life if we make as our goal every day, as our ultimate goal, the knowledge of God, the love of God, and the service of God. It is also very important for people making a choice of a state of life. So, number 3 is choosing the options meant for you to achieve the purpose. So, that's the path the path we choose to reach our purpose.
Fun.
What is the path for you to reach your purpose? There are many different paths. Some can know, love, and serve God as a nurse, as a doctor. They respond to such purpose in life by being a doctor or a teacher or simply as parents or as priests, nuns, or particular profession. And the purpose is really to make God glorified. After clarifying my purpose in life and knowing who I am, what is the path for me to take? Weigh things, know the pros and cons, and then you will see God's hand guiding you. It is a response to God's gift of ourselves, purpose, and the many paths to reach the purpose. So those are very important keywords, when we make a choice of a state of life. Now, let's start the first part, which is the call of Abraham. Now, the call of Abraham can be read in Genesis 12:1-4. But the whole part of the role of Abraham as mentioned in the book can be read in Genesis 12 to chapters 12 to 25. And it can also be read in the New Testament, particularly in Romans chapter 4. For the Old Testament, you can have Genesis 12 to 25. But in the New Testament, you have Romans 4. God's plan of salvation is to liberate all people from the bondage of sin so they can share in God's own divine life and love. The plan of salvation in human history began with the call of Abram. And he was asked to go to an unknown land and form a nation. As we can see in that particular text, it reads, "Now the Lord said to Abram, go forth from the land of your kinsfolk and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you. All the communities of the earth shall find blessing in you." So here, we can sense that the plan of salvation for humanity really began with Abraham's calling. Today, each one of us is personally called by God to share in His life by taking an active part in His continuing plan of salvation in Jesus Christ. We are called to fulfill a certain mission. So we are called to fulfill a certain mission. This is our mission. The Spirit of God calls us and inspires us to respond to Him so that we may live the life for which we were created. Now, the relationship, to develop such relationship with God as the Creator and man as Creator and as creature or created being. After the great flood, God promised never again to destroy His creation, even if humankind would become corrupt again. God chose not to abandon humanity because of sinfulness, but on the contrary, planned to save and redeem them. He resolved to make a new beginning by establishing a people to whom He would reveal His words and deeds and make them His witnesses. So God chose Abram to become the patriarch of His people. Through Abram, this nation and all nations of the earth would find blessing. So Abram became the very instrument of God's blessing and to be a blessing to all nations. Our journey began with, as I said, the call of Abraham, a man chosen by the divine to embark on a pilgrimage into the unknown. In the book of Genesis, we witness the unfolding of a profound vocation, a calling that required Abraham to leave his familiar surroundings and set forth into uncharted territory. So, what important message or value that we can get out of this calling of Abraham? First, is the faith and obedience. Paano maganda ang iyang pagtuo, no? Kanang giingnan siya sa Ginoo na lakaw. Gikan from his hometown. Ama niya hometown gani. From his hometown, from Or. Biyahe siya, gitawag siya sa Ginoo mamadto ka dito adto sa Haran. Padang-aram. Then gikan sa Haran, ano yung opportunity at tuladan siya dito sa Canaan. Diba ang Canaan in modern day is the nagigubatan ka ron? No. Israel or Palestine?
Palestine.
No. Doon ba mga Israelita? Kabalo ba mo nga nahimo lang silang nasod mga 1948? Gumikan anak niya, dagang pa sila. Daghan ang contested ang ilang area ba? Sa between kini lagi na Israel o kini Palestine. Kini ba ni Palestine? With regard to faith and obedience, Abraham's response to the call exemplifies unwavering faith and obedience. You know what good? No? Okay. Wago siyang sayot. Gikan sa Or. No? Particular city of Mesopotamia. Dili mas nagikan. Yeah. Biyaan ka na yung kaptanan. Alis na din eh. Bansa yung asawa, yung pagbangkot na si Lot. Ang tuluban pa sa siyang amahan na si naman na dito na po namatay. Ang pagkamatay siyang amahan na si ito Papa ni Abraham, the father of Abraham. The father of Abraham, si Terah. Si Terah. Si Terah. Nasa itulong ka anak. Si Abraham. Dayon si Nahor, no? Si Nahor ba o si Haran? Haran o si Nahor lagi? Haran o si Nahor. So, his readiness to leave the security of his homeland, embracing uncertainty, teaches us that vocation often demands a leap of faith. So, wag Basta namin kayo magsalig sa Ginoo. Leap of faith, na siya. Siya nagkawa ko, unknown ko na area yung matuan. Ya, sitol na lugar din eh. Ano ba ito pa mga kanito? No? So, diyan mo makita ang kalawong sa iyang pagtuo o iyang pagkamasinugtanon sa Ginoo. That's one very important value na gitudlo ni Abraham. How many of us in our own lives have hesitated at the edge of the unknown? Gawas ng kalawan pa kita o ngit-ngit, no? Kita ang insecure po sa mga pagkatao. Hindi, yun na. Sabi na mo ba, sigurista kasi nga tanan, asa na ako adto o ba'y makuha? Abraham, and forget, afraid to answer the call echoing within our hearts. So that's it. Second, promises and challenges. Promises and challenges. So what does it mean? Abraham's journey was not without challenges. It involved trials and tests that shaped his character. You don't know? Challenges is really valuable in life. We have to learn to face the many challenges in our lives. Kaya makatapang tayo sa tuwang kinabuhi. Yet, in the midst of difficulties, he held them to the promises of a divine plan. Okay. Sa Ginoo kani, lisod kayo, pero umikan kay sa Ginoo ni. No. Batayan mo ka. Hindi nila yung tao ang nagsulti mo. Ginoo may nagsulti. Di ba? Basta kani sa Ginoo, sugo sa Ginoo. Sanin sa iya ang saan. Kaya ang Ginoo dili pareha na to, may kay mo pakyas sa atong mga saan. God will never break His promise. God is very much faithful to His promise, despite our unfaithfulness. Okay. In our vocational journeys, we too encounter obstacles. That's normal, no? The story of Abraham encourages us to persevere, trusting that our paths are part of our grandeur design of God. So, kini, importante. Hold on to God's promises. Whenever we face many difficult challenges, keep going and remember and trust God's promises. You will never fail. Okay. So, ano na ba tayo ni? Let's move now to the second part, which is the call of Moses. Let us first know who Moses is in brief. For the Israelites people, Moses was considered as a national hero who delivered the Israelites from Egyptian slavery. Moses in Hebrew meant drawn out or born. Okay. So Moses was considered as their national hero. And not only that he delivered the Israelites from the bondage of the Egyptians, he also established them as independent nation. He as well prepared them to enter into Canaan. Okay, gikan din is Canaan, no? 600 years after Abraham, the people lived as slaves in Egypt. So there was Egypt and it was. Then niabot ang panahon ni pag-isugo na sa Ginoo si Moises aron ibalik na sila dinhi sa Canaan. Now that was the story when how come they reached Egypt? Through Joseph.
Joseph, yes.
And then when the Pharaoh, those pharaohs who already have no sense of history forget Joseph. And at that time they were threatened because the number of the Israelites people were growing.
Yes.
So hadlok sila nga basig moalsa ang mga Hudyo Mao to nga ilang gihimong mga slaves. So, okay. So, Moses was born in Egypt in 1520 BC. In Egypt, though with Israelite parents. He spent 40 years of his life in royal court of Egypt. Kaya gi-adopt na niya sa anak sa hari. So, when he killed an Egyptian, he fled to Midian for 40 years. Nindot yun yung mga symbols sa Bible, 40 years, 40 years. In the Bible, numbers have different meanings. There are three ways of interpreting numbers in the Bible. One as quantity. Second as symbolism. Third as gematria. So 40 is symbolic. Istoryahan mo muna ni Bishop na appeal ba na sa orientation itong basta 40 is actually, there are many, and it is rich with meanings. No? 40 can mean cleansing. It also means new life. After 40 days, isa ka si Jesus sa langit.
Yes.
Ito ba? 40 years na 40 days na si Jesus na nasa disyerto, nagpuasa. Wala siya mga symbolism. Pag ito pong 40 years nga nagpanaw, also a journey. No?
Sa disyerto. Sa disyerto.
O gatong flood.
Flood, 40 days.
40 days and 40 nights. Cleansing to siya.
Cleansing.
So that may meaning, no? When we speak about way of interpreting numbers. Symbolism. Gematry. The letters of the Hebrew letters have corresponding value, numerical value. So, pananglitan, ang Aleph, 1. Letter A nila ba? 1. Bet, panitan 2. Dalet, siya. Vav, pala yun, kuhan. Mamita lang nasa bantay mo katong sa saan ka nang ikaduha ba ng adlaw sa sipang gabi nga ang bantay mo nga ang Ebanghelyo patiglaaya kay sa tanan kay genealogy of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
No?
Genealogy.
Na Ilan to ka 3 groups?
14
generations.
14 generations.
Grouped into 3.
Into three.
No? So, mabuta siya. 14 generations. Kung 14 generations, anak ko ni. Bob, Dalit is Bob. Actually, wala na siya DVD ba? Basta kay mo total ni siya o Dalit is 4, 10, 4. Ay, 4, 10. 4, 10, 4. Dili, 4, 6, 14. 6, relay 6.
464.
6, niya 6.
464.
464. Wala mo may percent 14. No. 464. The name of David, actually the name of David. Kini David na siya actually. David. So, 14 generations na siya. From the time of Abraham up to the time of the coming of Jesus Christ. 14 generations. Grouped into 3. No. Muna yung gematria. Gematry. Muna sa Bible na mga numbers dito, ang reading mo should be in that way. So 14. Okay. The call of Moses can also be found in Exodus 3 to chapter 3 to 4, verse 17. Chapter 3 to 4, verse
Exodus 3. Chapter
3 to 4, 17. God appeared to Moses in a burning bush at Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. God told Moses that he had witnessed the sufferings and heard the cries of his people in Egypt. He came to rescue them from their slavery and then commissioned Moses to free his people from foreign oppressors and to lead them to the promised land. So, in Exodus 3, 7 to 8, it reads, I have witnessed the affliction of my people in Egypt and have heard their cry of complaint against their slave drivers. So I know well what they are suffering. Therefore, I have come down to rescue them from the hands of the Egyptians and lead them out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So, muna ang land of promise. What's something land of promise?
Israel.
Israel. Oh, Canaan. Okay. Medyo nabul yun.
Doon sa Babylon, 14 years old.
Mga na inungdan nga ano, according to basahan niya sa history, ang Hamas funded na sila as Muslim extremists. No, funded by Iran.
Yes, Iran.
Principally. nga ang ilang trabaho gulubon din ng Israel. Muna ilang tumong tuyo. It's a long story. Moses asked for God's name. Should the Israelites ask him? The Lord identified himself to Moses. I am who am. That's the name of God.
Y H W H.
I am who I am. Kana lang ang word, no? It takes 2 semesters. Yun lang. 2 semesters yun siya. Kung kalawaman siya. We all know that that is not really a word, but a four consonants called tetragrammaton. Ano siya tetragrammaton? Four consonants of the Hebrew alphabet. And because in ancient Israel, it should not be pronounced because of its two sacred name of God. Di kita sensay na naman ito mag-Yahweh, I know you are near. Nung nag-utro na natin, taliw ayaw na ninyo, kantaha, namin mong Yahweh. Okay, that's offensive to the Jews. Pasabot na, wag tayong tahon nila ba? Huwag respeto. Hindi kayo sila mulito, anak, nakita na ato na saya na ba, buntak pa kayo, Yahweh.
Gayo.
Pwede na siya kayo, Yahweh ko yun.
Yahweh. Yahweh.
Wala na sa gilis na naman na, Lord, no? Lord, Adonai,
Elohim. Elohim.
Pero kasi karan, ang ilang ilang
Adonai. Yes.
means Lord.
Curious.
So, kato ng pag-abot na sa mga modern sa mga 12th century, modern Israelites, kaya di naman kayo sila, kahit ba mubasa na, yan, naibinto na po ang mga vowels. So, ilahan ang ipon ang Adonai o kining Yahweh. Isuplayan nila ba ang Yahweh sa Adonai? Mao nang nahimong Jehovah.
Okay.
Di ba? Mao nang natawag na siya Jehovah. Iyan ang ipagsumpay ni pero actually sayop na siya. Dili mao. Mao nang sayop ng Jehovah.
Jehovah's Witness.
Ang mga Hudiyo may paistoryahan, sayop kayo ilahang translate, di ba may nga pa sila nga, the real name of God is really Jehovah. We are Jehovah's Witnesses. Ganda. At no, kung i-trace ni mo, kana, mo na nila ang substitute sa Yahweh. Pero actually, hindi na may pronounce. It cannot be pronounced. Matod ba sa karabay? It cannot be pronounced. Because the right articulation or the right the right way to pronounce
Express.
is that you won't use your tongue. Ano sa mga pag-pronounce di ko gamit na yung dila? You won't use your tongue and you won't close your mouth. No. Tanawa, ang sa kanindot. Di ba? The meaning of Yahweh is I am who am. I am who I am. Anong iwan naman lang bigay niya I am? Ano yung pamang yung dinuplik? Nagalisod-lisod na lang yun. No. I am na lang din. Ano? I am who I am pa din. No. It is because God's presence is doubled in our life. God is not only present singly, but God's presence is doubled in us. At ang ilimig, no? No. Hindi kita, huwag ito sa next gino. Oh, may handom lang tayo panginahanglan. Oh.
Yan, ayun pa Diyos.
Just ginawa ng ginabuhi. No? God will not only listen to you when you pray, but God will also help you. Di ba? Ikaw, kung may problema sa imuhang higala, ito magalit pa niya. Gusto kang paminahon niya. Minawa ako, marigay. At yung problema sa kumbahan lang yun. Nagbit mo nila kumbahan lang yun. Dugay na nila ninyo, pero sakit kayo. Paminawa lang ko. Paminaw. Yan lang, tutong lang sa paminaw. Pero nagtabangan ba siya? Sa problema? Wala. Pero ang Ginoo, maminaw pa siya, mutabang pa siya. Kung wala kay kwarta, problema ko sa Ginoo, may Ginoo, tabang ikaw ang Ginoo. Di paminaw ko sa Ginoo. Wala lang siya maminaw, mutabang pa siya. Paningkamutan niya nga dululan yung kagkwarta. See? That's double presence. Double presence. No. Ano ba itong bata ba nga? Ang estudyante rin ba? Sa lupan na elementary. Luwigi siya. High school ganito. Ito rin ito. Ito na ito na ito school. College yun ito. Luwigi bata. Ang butang siya. Tabangit ang ko nga. Makatay kong exam. Okay. Grade 6 ko siya. Puprigi sila. Gusto ko siya ginikan na matapos siya. Gusto ko siya matapos kaya naging kawas kita nila ang pamilya sa Kalisod. So ito siya ito. Ang po siya sa katedral, tingilan niya. Bakit siya mukhapan niya, bungat ko niya. Kung siya nabantay na dahil tao sa likod. Sa likod. Gusto ko siya kaya niya, mayroon na lang kulang 1,000. Diba, ang 1,000 ginawa, kasi pwede kasi na pwede nakatabang na pwede. Matirahan ko sa kalibo. Bako kasi may naluoy ito na siya likod na nagkurbata. Tapos pagkuot sa iyang kwansi, 500 naman din. Butang din niya dito, bako man. Butang niya. Sa mga may pagkana sa bata, kita mo yun ay. So, wala na daw. Kasi naman kayo sa Diyos mo, naambil ko na tayo, pagpangilipay siya. Nakuwasan siya ba? So Lord, salamat kayo Lord sa imong tabang, kinagay at tawan. Pero sa Lord, ayaw nagyatag sa lugar ko, Lord, kay waan ko yung budget.
Okay.
So Lord, lagyan ako sa ipasa. So, saan ba?
Okay kayo.
Jehovah. So that's the presence, no? Pero ang meaning yun din ang nalawang mana, wala ka ba nung parinig? Ako lang yung speaking. Ang meaning yun din ang nasakto to, nga dili mo gamito ng imong dila, di po mo ma-close ang imong baba. Kay ang pag-pronounce din niya, di ba ang Ginoo, God, muna yung tema karon sa Bible month. The Word of God is the breath of a new life. The breath of a new life. Kaya sa mo pag-pronounce mo sa ngalan sa Ginoo, munang balaan guys nga tanan.
Wajud. Wajud.
Meaning, the first word that we pronounce when we were born is God. And the last word that we utter when we die is also the name of God.
Wajud.
Sabot pasabot, God is always with us. Kaya mo na may ginawa, patay mo. See? Kung na ilaw meaning sa ngayon sa Ginoo. Di ba pagbuhat sa Ginoo sa tao, itayupan niya ang ilong sa iyang gihul mga lapo na tao o nakabaton o kinuwi. Di ba? When Jesus was also resurrected, He breathed on them to the disciples. That's a manifestation of the presence of God. Kinahanglan kita pasalamat sa Ginoo. We need to be grateful always to God. And by being grateful, we need to pray always. And to worship the Lord by attending regularly or participating in the Holy Eucharist. Because it is the life of every Christian. Turning the pages of the sacred text, we encounter Moses, a reluctant leader. So you can also read the entire life of Moses from Exodus to Deuteronomy. But this is in the Old Testament. But in the New Testament, you can read about Moses in the letter to the Hebrews. Moses, a reluctant leader, chosen to liberate his people from bondage. Moses' vocation unfolded in the ordinary moments of his life. The burning bush, a divine voice, and a call to confront injustice. Now, what lessons can we learn? Can we get from this episode of his calling? One is awareness and humility. Awareness and humility. Moses, initially hesitant and full of self-doubt, teaches us about the importance of being aware of our own inadequacies. Diba siya, reluctant kaya siya tanong, ako man Ginoo, di ko mayang sulti. Dahil mo kawayangon. Dili ko ang ngayon. No. Pero nindot na siya. That's very important. To be aware of our inadequacies. Ngayon ba nung really aware sa inadequacies? Bugiro na po guys na tanan. Pero na pwede ba na sobraan na po? Maulawang na po guys na tanan. No. It has to be in moderation. So it's good to be aware of our self as both good and bad, with strengths and weaknesses. And once we are aware of that, instead of being judgmental, we become empathetic and compassionate to others. Because we are aware that we are also weak and sinful. Ano ati katungod pa ng hukom sa uban? Ang importante yung aware. Kung ma-aware ka na gani, you are humble. Kabaw naman ka. Dili ka na hukom sa uban. Naan ay humility. And we will know that according to St. Francis, humility is the mother of all virtues.
Virtues, yes.
Of all virtues. Why mahimong bertud kung dili muagi sa pagkamapahusanon. And to be humble actually is to know our identity. Once we know our identity, we are true to our being who we are. Hindi nagigikan ang pulong sa humility, nagigikan ang pulong yuta. In Latin, humus.
Humus.
Kita, gikan man ta sa yuta. Matod pa sa Bible, we are dili Adama. Dili Adam. Kanang Adam, dili na actually pangalan. It is soil, earth. Ano yung Adama? Humus. focus. Soil. Soil. In Hebrew niya, this is in Latin. Diya pagkikan ang pulong humility. It's really true to its term, no? To its word. Okay. Ang yuta, nabala yuta na sa babaw. Naliyuta na sa babaw, nangalay ka sa babaw. Nalay na sa ubos. Ang yuta. Oo. Importante yung pag-focus. If you are aware that you are coming from the earth, mabutanang ka nung nagkapainumduman tas pare, ang tangong kita mayo yun. No? Remember that you are dust, and from dust
to
you shall
submit.
Naman anak bigyan sa ako. Wala kay ikapasigar po ba? Kung saan natin ikapasigar po? What is it that we need to be proud of? Kung saan natin ikapasigar po? Kung wala man day, tanan. Kung saan man day, ang atong mga sala, mga gina. Mga gina ikapasigar po na to. Kung di ka na hindi mo sino, sala, atong araw na, muna ikapasigar po rin na to.
Uy, Jud na.
Di ba? Ang tanang maayo iya sa Ginoo. Bisang pag ikaw gahimo. Bisang pag ikaw gahimo. Kaya nga no, makahimo na kag maayo. If it is not coming from the grace of God. If it is not because of God's grace, can you do what is good? Hindi mo kang kahimong maayo. Kaya na to ang propensity na to. Human magagayo. No. Di ba? Pero nagrasyahan ka sa Ginoo. Ubuhat niya ang maayo. Nagrasyahan sa Ginoo. Tulipagpag mo kita upok yun. Tulipagpag mo kita kinaiya. No, pero paggrasyahan kita sa Ginoo, di ba magbuhat ang maayo? So that's one very important point. True vocation often requires humility, a recognition that the journey ahead may be challenging, but with faith, it is navigable. Na-navigate na mo ba? Navigable. Basta na ay pagtulong. Okay. Second, leadership and service. Leadership and service. Moses' vocation was deeply intertwined with leadership and service. His mission was not one of personal glory, but a commitment to the well-being of others. So, kabalo siya nga na siya mission. Dili lang para sa iyang kaugalingon, kundi para yun sa iyang mga katauhan sa iyang kababayan. Mga bisag reluctant siya iyang gidawat. So, leadership and service, mag-uban gina siya. They go hand in hand. Because a true leader will always serve. And those with the capacity to serve is really a good leader. Di mo kami leader kung dili ka mualagad. Kanang uban nga di mualagad. Sama sa tao-tao na. Nakadaog lang ka sa kwarta, ng litan. Kadawat pa ka sa kwarta, kailang may nadawat ninyo. Wala na.
Wala, kay PPCRB man.
PPCRB. Sayang.
Ilahara to.
Di ba mo mali ang atuang mission to serve God?
Yes.
But we cannot serve God if we do not know God. And we cannot also love God if we cannot know God. So Paris ka sila. Muna yung St. Richard of St. Richard, St. Victor of Rochester. Ayan siya. Nagigamit po ni St. Ignatius of Loyola to know God more clearly, to love God more dearly, and to follow God more nearly day by day. So, sa'yo ba sa ko? You cannot follow or you cannot serve God if you do not know Him very well. And you cannot also love God if you do not also know God. And you cannot follow God even if you know God. You cannot truly follow God if you do not love the Lord. Paris kina sila, uman kina sila tulog. Now, the best expression of our knowledge of God and our love of God is really through service with others. No, kita naman yung si San Pablo nga, you are a liar if you believe in God who is invisible, but you are not taking care of your brothers and sisters whom you can see. So the best expression of love of God and knowledge of God is through service. Take note that to serve is a commitment to the well-being of others. Speak about service, it is for the well-being of others. Mga ginunta na yung service, pagpangalagan, servisyo. Always pointing to others. Bantay mo sa ganit at kitong gihatag ni Kano. Nice. Istorya si Bishop na itungod sa kabalong talulang volleyball din, no? No. Volleyball game. You will know which is the best team. It is indicative of the coach, the kind of coach that they have. Natong sa ka coach, ay, daghang isang iyaw-iyaw na, tingin mo muna na napagpakpak. Pero itong isa, kalma na ganyan isa. Nga mo ay nakadaog, kung sa inyong isulti. Okay, just remember, please serve the ball well. Servisyo lang o taro. Servisyo lang o taro. Makadaog kayo kita. Di ba, kung lang ako sa tawagan ng kung lang ako, serve ka. Serve ka. Di ba? Kung serve ka, ang imong dagaan, basta ang bula, dili mo balik ni mo. Kaya kung balik ni mo, pili mo ka. See? Dapat kung servisyo ka, kung gusto kang madaog, magmalampuson ka sa imong pagservisyo, ang imong pagservisyo, mo ato ginaglain. Dito ginamambong sa lain, dili sa imong pagalingon. Dili mo balik ni mo. Wonderful, no?
Ikaw kayo ng politiko wala, Dre.
Great insight yun. That service, always pointing to others. For the betterment, for the well-being of others. Not for oneself. That service. No. Kaya siya gipakita yan sa volleyball. Tinintag na naman volleyball. A reminder of what it means to truly serve. In a Christian way. In a Christian way. As we explore our own vocations, we must ask ourselves, how can we contribute to the betterment of our communities and the world at large? Saan man ito, pagtampo, alam niya ng kaayuhan, kabulahanan, sa ato ang katilingban, di kita magikan, o sa tibok kalibutan, sa kinatibukan. It's a good point for reflection. Kaya kung magpadayan niya po ng palit-palit, uyon na punta, it doesn't make sense. It cannot make a difference. We allow the original sin to continue. But once we refuse, we cut off the cycle of evil. Ano na cycle of evil doon? Mga gunin ng original sin? Kung palawaman ka ito ba? Kita, pilihan ka ito. Mana, wala, gawin ko paguhan. We cannot expect greater change and transformation if we ourselves won't make it. So that's service. Now, part 3, the unfolding tapestry of our vocations. Atong aglihan kinitabil sa to ang bukasyon. In concluding our exploration of these ancient narratives, let us consider the tapestry of our own vocations. Each of us, like Abraham and Moses, is part of a larger narrative. a narrative that weaves together the threads of our unique callings, experiences, and the people we encounter along the way. So meaning to say, each and every one of us is part of this great work for total salvation and liberation. We have something to contribute. Whatever is our status, whatever is our background, our upbringing, our political affiliation, and beliefs, we can always be a great part for the fulfillment of God's promise. And that is for total salvation based on the plan of God. Number one, Number one is discernment, the unfolding tapestry or revelation. Just as Abraham and Moses discerned their callings, so must we. Para masunta nato ang itong okasyon, kinahanglan nato i-discern. Discernment involves deeper introspection. Kung mag-isip natin ng discernment, deeper introspection. Deeper prayer. And openness. Openness to the signs that guide us. Ano yung importante sa discernment? Okay. When you speak about discernment, you must learn how to weigh things properly. You must undergo the process of discernment. In discerning, one will know the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages, and then you will choose. Kung napagdili ka mo ang o discernment, kasi nga nagtalpak, Okay, labi na mo kailangan itong hasty action, no? Dili-dali. Dili na mamalandong, dili na mo agi og lawom nga pagtan-aw sa kaugalingon, dili idalon sa pagampo o dili bukas sa say mga signos o timaan na it will lead to failure. So what resonates within us as our true calling, and how can we align our lives with that purpose? Ito na ang gingon kagalingan, itong isulti ni Cardinal Tagle, no? The three keywords: honesty to oneself, second is purpose in life, and third is what path to take in order to reach your purpose in life. Ito na ang tinagkatariyan ng mga paths. Kung diyan na yung ka, padayon na. No, ito sa inyong pagkamagtutudlo, sa pagka-religious, pagka-pari, unsa man ang inyong profession. Basta, we never forget that we are here for this mission. Our life is geared towards that particular mission. To know, to love, and to serve God. Using our respective vocation. Second, community and support. Community and support. Both Abraham and Moses were not alone in their journeys. They had companions, mentors, and communities that supported them. Kaya nindot pa na talang mga sa ato ang panaw, sa ato ang mga buluhaton, sa ato ang posisyon, sa ato ang vocation o tawag, wa ta maginusara na atay mga kaupan. Manay giingon nga when it comes to discerning God's will of me, we need both others' help and our personal choice. So uban gina siya, dili na siya pwedeng either or, but both and both and. No. Kay ang uban mong God mo ingon na imo na yun, imo ning pagbuot. Ba, usahay mo na i-check sa computer kung imo ba yun ng tawag, kana. Dili na yun na matawag ni mong imo yun na. Naagyoy po'y naggiya nimo, nagtabang nimo. Sa'yo, kapakalantong binawa. Sa seminary, ano ito magsulti sa mga computer? Kung saan nag-imo yun ng tawag? Hindi ka rin doon, hindi ko din. Basic po na sa giya sa uban. Di ba? Basic po sa giya sa uban. Hindi naman kinangan na magsaglig ka sa mga personal choice. You have also to consider the help of others. Each one of us needs the others in order to grow who we are. while we welcome the help of other people, we ourselves must have the courage to make a decision that we assume and not blame other people. Ano naman? Kuwan yan siya. Complementary. No? Complementary. There is mutuality in our journey and in responding to God's call. That's very important. And even in our service to others, no? It needs mutuality and partnership. No? Because salvation is always in partnership. You cannot say that, okay, go on, we have our individual salvation. Tingnan mo. Ngayon tayo, sige lang, iiyak ka kaluwasan. Tingnan mo. Why kaluwasan nga iya lang, individualistic. Salvation is always communal. Salvation is always synodal. Salvation is always in partnership. Just imagine, no, how the story of salvation begins. It started with the call of Abraham, the Abrahamic covenant. Abrahamic covenant. Ano yung covenant? Yung mag-himo ko covenant, ikaw rin eh? Bakit kita covenant na ikaw rin? No such thing. It is always between two parties. No. So that's salvation. Salvation is like dancing. No? It takes two to tango. No. Kaya naganda ng bagay. Kung na ay gasa, na ay mudawat. Kung saan may mugasa o may mudawat? Kung na ay giver, na ginay-receiver. No. Hindi pwedeng giver abot ng mudawat. No. That's salvation. That is why salvation is both a task and a blessing. A gift and a task. Gift mo ng kaluwasan, pero kung di kung ka mulihok, kung saan mo pagkaluwas, di mo buhaton yung tahas. Na may pagkaon. O, na may pagkaon. Kung di kung ka mukaon, kung sa'yo kapuskanan ng pagkaon, so it is always in mutuality. That's salvation. That's why we need the support and our community. So our vocations too are enriched when we foster a sense of community, seeking guidance and providing support to those around us. So, ano yun? Basta gani mga lagad, we should not forget others. And we need to recognize the gifts of others. Mga naman tinabangay ta sa eskwelahan, pag-unsa man ang mga administrator nila o buhay mga janitor o buhay mga teachers, useless. Oh. Tinampangay ka na siya. Wala ayaw kalimot sa iyong kauban sa iyong balay. Yan ang mga ingon mga helper lang. Mga tindira lang. No. Mga kamang kalagawa ka na yung mga kusinira. Kusiniro. Mulampo ka na yung tindahan o wag may tindiro tindira. Kaya ni mo. See? Ako sa eskwelahan. Kung may mga working staff ng teaching personnel. Tuman pa. So, that's our role. We are all part of God's plan to work for total liberation and redemption. For now, sakto yun. So, ako na tapusan ay mo po na lang yan. So, to conclude, in celebrating Vocation Month, let us nurture the seeds of vocation within ourselves and others. The call to a higher purpose is not confined to the pages of ancient scriptures. It resonates within the core of our being. May we, like Abraham and Moses, heed the call with faith, courage, and a commitment to a greater good. As we continue our individual journeys, let us remember that vocation is not a destination, but a continuous unfolding, a sacred dance with the divine, shaping us into the people we are meant to become. Tapos na ako sa istorya. May nindot yung istorya din yung itong i-prepare. Kung di mo ganahan, problema na yun. There was a young Eastern king, wished to be good and wise, and to rule his people according to the will of God. So he called together the wisest men of his kingdom and ordered them to learn, to gather all the wisdom into books so that he could read and learn for himself how to rule well his kingdom. So he gathered niya so yung mga nindot, yung mga kaalam, tanan na kaalam sa tibok kalibutan. Then the wise men of his kingdom began their tremendous task. And after 30 years, it was finished. So, young man siya, butang 15 years old siya, sa iyang pagkahari, butang na 15, plus 30, kaya ilan? 45 na siya. No. So, a long string of camels bearing 5,000 volumes came to the palace. The king, already middle-aged, was occupied with many duties and plans. He looked at the loaded camels and said, I am too busy to read so many books. Take them away and condense them for me. Pwede mo nang gamayon? Oo. Tingnan na lang ka libro. Tagkan na kayo, di na kaya. The work of condensing books took 15 years. So 15 plus 45, 16 na yung edad. And then, the wise men proudly produced 500 volumes na lang. Still far too many, said the king. 50 ought to be enough. Ang 500 and mo ang 50. Most of the wise men were dead already, but their successors carried on. And in 10 years, they brought 50 books to the king. 50 na lang. So, pila yung edad? 60 plus 10? 70. Yeah. But by this time, the king was old and tired. You must make a summary of it all into one book, according to the king. It took them 5 years. But when they brought the precious volume to the king, it was too late, for he lay on his deathbed. So, don't procrastinate. Don't delay. Once you hear the voice of God, once God is calling us, please take it seriously and to continue the mission of Jesus in our own little way whenever God took us. So that's all.